number 1, open a bank account.
Opening a bank account is probably one of the most important things that you really need to do. As an adult, you have a bank account, definitely, a checking, possibly a savings, maybe brokerage accounts. We want to start the kids off young with these. And there's a reason for that. A lot of these newer generations that I'm running into are realizing that they don't know how to write a check. And don't get me wrong, I know that checks are getting to become outdated, but some people have to pay certain bills with checks. We live out in the middle of nowhere in Maine. Things like water payments, they don't have that actually as an option to pay online yet. So you have to write a check. So this is something that you definitely want to teach them. Realistically, you want to get them a checking account, a savings account, and then also, if possible, an emergency savings account. Getting a checking account can start at a really young age. You might need to actually co-sign for it, but that's fine because they're still young and maybe they don't have a job yet. That's also okay. Start out with maybe that Christmas money that grandma sent them, or maybe they get some chore money every week for cleaning up the house. Start it out small. Open that checking account just so you can teach them how to properly use a debit card, and better yet, how to balance their bank accounts. That's a really big deal in today's day and age. If you don't know how to balance a bank account and you don't know what you're spending, you're not going to be very successful. A savings account's also important. You need that savings account. It could be for anything. And really, it's going to be up to what your kids feel like. Maybe they're saving for a car, a home, a wedding. It could be any of those things. It's important to go ahead and put a little bit into your savings, whatever you can. Even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, which I know a lot of people are, just go ahead and take a tiny bit, $5 maybe, out of every check that you won't miss. Just put it in there and it will add up over the time. Last, I would say you definitely need to have an emergency savings. For some people, they get one savings account and they put it all in one, and that's fine if that's how you want to do things. I will say that an emergency savings account is a great idea because there are expenses that we never plan on having. So for example, growing up, I can't tell you how many times my car broke down, and it's pretty costly, you know. There have been times where I've had to pay $1,200, $1,300 out of pocket. You need to have that money set aside so that when that happens, you're not worried about now you can't fix your car and how are you going to get to work. You can pull it out. Yes, I know it's still painful to have to do that. At least you have that in there. Maybe medical expenses. Maybe your child's going to get laid off as an adult. It happens to people. At least they'll have that emergency stash in there so they can get by for a little bit without feeling even more stressed out.
Hi everybody, it's Chloe with Parents Guide to the World, and today we are going to be talking about 10 things all kids should know to be a successful adult.
Hey everyone, Sam from Parents Guide to the World here. Today I'm really excited to talk about this subject. I think it's really important in kind of that crazy world that we have of taking care of our kids. I think a lot of the time we forget to look at the big picture. So I know most of us, we get up, we make sure the kids have some clean clothes, we make their breakfast, we get them off to school. Then we spend the rest of our day making sure they've eaten again, done their school projects. And as things progress, you know, we have proms and graduation and all these fun things that I absolutely love to do as a parent. The only issue with that is that sometimes in the midst of that, we kind of lose the big picture of what we're really doing. What's really exciting about this subject to me is that we are literally creating a life. We have no idea what our kids are going to do with their lives as adults. But these are tips that are really going to impact them as adults. I run into this a lot currently with friends I've met, strangers, things that people don't know that are really going to help your kids out in the long run.
Tip number 2, cleaning.
Cleaning is a huge, huge deal. I personally know from contacts over the years I've met people that don't really know how to properly clean. Now, I'm not an expert by any means. I have cleaned houses before though as a job, so you know, I've learned quite a bit over the years. My mom was really informative with making sure that we knew how to clean things up, and it's also one of those tips that I'm teaching Chloe how to do as well. You really can't start too young as far as learning how to clean. Now, there are age-appropriate chores, of course. Don't give your small children chemicals to go clean the bathroom, but start out slow. People need to know how to do laundry. And that's one of those chores that actually is almost fun for kids because they get to put all the clothes in, then they get to dump liquid in, and they can watch it all swish around in the washer and dryer. So start them young when they still enjoy it. Now also teach them all about what chemicals are appropriate for what parts of the house. Some things are not appropriate. You don't put bleach necessarily on a kitchen counter that, you know, could have a beautiful finish on it. You need to be careful about carpet cleaners. Just show them which rooms have which cleaners and start out small. Don't ask them to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. But as adults, they need to know how to clean up after themselves. And it doesn't really matter. Male or female, they do need to know how to clean up, because if they live alone, that's fantastic. They have that independence, but they don't want to necessarily live in a messy apartment. So set those habits young, slowly add on different chores, and you know what? It's okay. Go ahead and incentivize them with that chore money, and then once again, they can take that and put that into that bank account that you opened for them.
Tip number 3, cooking. Yum.
Cooking. This is a life skill everyone needs. Why? Well, because for one, we all have to eat. Yes, we absolutely can go down to the local McDonald's. We can order a pizza. All of those things. There's a reason, though, that we don't really want to live off of that. Not just the lack of nutrition value in many of those places, but some of it has to do with money as well. When you're a kid, you don't consider how much money your parents put into grocery shopping. Even if you're a very thrifty parent and you're able to make things last, or maybe you're a hunter and you can feed your family venison over the winter, all those things are fantastic, but you still have to pay for other things. With that being said, going out to McDonald's every day, going to get a pizza every day, it's going to add up quick. And a lot of kids, when they first get out on their own, they may be in college or they're just working, but they're not making a ton of money yet. It adds up quick. Granted, we also don't really want them to eat ramen permanently either. I know that I went through that phase as a young adult, but teach them how to cook. What easy recipes can you teach them that are also budget friendly? And we have some fantastic recipes right on our website as well, parentsguidetotheworld.com. They can take a look at those, and even if you barely know how to cook, you can figure those out, and it's great. They're hearty meals, and they really don't cost much.
Tip 4, credit.
Credit may be single-handedly the most important thing you need as an adult. I really wish that they taught this in schools. When I first graduated, I will tell you, I lived on my own for 4 months, and then the worst thing happened to me. Credit card company sent me a credit card at Christmas time. So I'm sure you can imagine what happened. I wanted to buy everybody in my family great gifts, so I maxed out the credit card. At that age, it's really hard to handle budgeting if you've never done it before. Granted, yes, I may have gotten all that paid off now because it's been many years, but why start off on the wrong foot? You want to start out on the right foot. Really explain to them what credit scores are going to do to you. You know, when you're young, you think, it's just a credit score, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, those 3-digit numbers, they matter. It's gonna decide if, you can buy a house, what your interest rates are gonna be on a loan for a car. Maybe you need an emergency credit card, and I actually really recommend that. Get an emergency credit card, but really only use it for emergencies. When you start out, you don't really have credit. One of the great things you can help your kids with when they first start out is get them one of those prepaid credit cards, one of the secure ones. Start out with a low limit. Have them use it maybe just for gas when they start out. $20 here, $20 there, and then have them pay off that balance each month. Seems small at first, but I promise over time that's going to build up really well. The other thing to know about this is that as they become adults and perhaps lose their job, or, they get sick, something happens that maybe makes it so they can't pay those bills on time, this is really important. Even as an adult, we all stress out if we cannot pay those bills on time. There's late fees, there's credit score issues. Teach them resources to reach out to if that happens. A lot of companies, you can call them, you can discuss the situation, they can move your loan around, they can do payment arrangements. Make sure to let them know that, yes, it's okay to be mindful of your money, but don't get too stressed. There are options out there to help save your credit score.
Tip number 5, cursive.
Reading and writing in cursive. I know it seems like not that big of a deal. In fact, most schools don't even teach it here anymore because we all type. Everybody needs to be computer proficient, which is fantastic because most jobs require this. However, if you don't know how to read or write in cursive, you also probably don't know how to decipher historical documents. I know for a fact that my kids here, they don't read and write cursive very well. It's just not a curricular thing anymore. So, granted, we've had to work on it, and it actually even has the ability to teach your kids spelling better and fine motor function. So it is really important. Just work with them a little bit if the schools don't teach them. Make it a fun activity, and let's be honest, cursive is actually it's beautiful compared to print. So go ahead, give it a shot with them, see how it goes.
Tip number 6, learn to say no.
Learn to say no. Now, I know what you're all thinking. We have already went through the terrible twos, the threes, the teenagers, where everything is no. No, I'm not cleaning that up. No, I'm not going to listen to you. That's not something we want to hear at this age. We're their parents. We want them to respect us and do as we wish. However, as an adult, it's a lot different. There's a reason for this. As an adult, we don't want to be a doormat. So it may start out, yes, you need to do your job. Yes, you need to be able to, maintain appropriate relationships. However, there comes a time when people will just ask too much of you. If you have a full plate, you need to learn to say no. And the reason is that if you don't say no, if you try to pull out and be, Superman or Wonder Woman and say, oh, I can do all of this, and I've been guilty of this before, what happens is you burn out your mental health and you don't do well. So if you already have a full plate, you're taking exams, you're working, you're not feeling well, and then you have a friend that's maybe asking you, hey, can you come help me move this weekend? You know what? It is okay to say no. And in fact, I encourage it if you need that mental health time. If you're feeling great and want to help your friends, that's awesome. But don't get yourself so caught up in everyone else that you can no longer handle your own priorities.
Tip number 7, learn to budget.
Learn to budget. So we talked about this a little bit as far as opening bank accounts and, making sure that you budget out your bank accounts. This is really important. You need to help your kids start out with a spreadsheet. It can be very simple. I had to do this when I was very young, and I will tell you that there are so many things you don't account for in your budget. Maybe you didn't account for the groceries. You didn't account for your gas. You need to teach them to go through, look at each item that they're paying, their rent, utilities, phone, car, all of that great stuff. But make sure you add in that food budget. Make sure you add in the gas budget. And you know what? Probably an entertainment budget, because let's be realistic. People want to go out and do things, and they want to see what it is they can do. Go ahead and go through that, add up all of that, figure out roughly what are they going to be making a month, and see how much they have left over. This will really determine a lot of things in your life in order to make sure that you can fit everything in. But once again, that even ties back to your credit, because if you're not budgeting correctly, then all of a sudden you may overspend, therefore damaging your credit. Really important stuff.
Tip number 8, basic car maintenance. Gotta go.
Basic car maintenance. Now, this is one that's a really interesting topic for me. As a child, frequently, the women in our family didn't really deal with basic car maintenance. Now, the males in our house definitely did. They knew what they were talking about. They would, do the oil changes for us. They'd do the basic car maintenance. They would even handle discussing things with car shops when something happened. But you know what's really important about this? You don't need to be a mechanic. What you do need to know is basic things. Let's say you break down in the middle of the night driving home. Well, do you have jumper cables? If your battery is just shot, you know what? You should have jumper cables on you. You should take one of those portable battery packs, because if no one drives by, there's no one there to jump your car for you. Now, this is great because you don't want to be trapped on the side of the road. And to be honest, you might not necessarily want strangers pulling over to help you. The other thing is changing a tire. We have all had a flat tire before. Yes, you can call AAA, absolutely. But you know what? You should know how to change a tire. Get out there, go ahead and get another one on there so you can continue about your day safely. Now, as far as car maintenance goes too, there's basic things like oil changes, brakes. These are all things that you should educate yourself about. Now, when it comes to the internal parts of cars and the more complicated stuff, absolutely leave that to a professional. Unless doing cars is your passion, then by all means, learn all about it.
Learn to do your taxes.
Learning to do your taxes. So, my mom is an accountant, and the great thing about that is that I was able to learn how to do taxes at a young age. However, they don't teach that in school either. Now, a lot of us are saying, hey, who needs to learn how to do taxes? We take our W-2s, we go to the local H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt, and we let them handle it. Great. You know what? They do, and they do a great job. However, when you're young, you don't have complicated taxes generally. You have maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 W-2s, maybe some student loan interest, but not a whole lot going on. Now, do you really want to go and spend $100 to $200 having your taxes done when you can go online? You can file your taxes for free, and it will literally take you 10 to 15 minutes, and you don't have to pay anyone. Hey, take that extra money, put that into that bank account that you opened. Maybe use a little bit for entertainment. Completely up to you.
And best tip, number 10, learn to love yourself.
And last, this one is a really hard topic because I myself have had to work on this over the years, and I know everyone has at some point. Learn to love yourself. Now, this can mean so many things. Learning to love yourself is not saying, hey, don't work on yourself. Absolutely work on yourself. Find out what your flaws are. Maybe you want to get more fit. Maybe you want to take better care of your health. Maybe you really want to pursue that passion that you have. You should do all those things. But understand that who you are is important now. Love who you are. Love those progress that you're making. We tend to get down on ourselves over the years. Everyone hits a rough spot. If you hit that rough spot and you feel like, oh no, I'm broke, I can't do this right, maybe I lost my job. You know what? It's okay. We have all been there. In fact, you know what? Pick yourself up. Talk to yourself about what are you good at. Sure, maybe you lost your job, but now you have this great new opportunity to do something you are very passionate about. I encourage you to go ahead and see all those passions and see what you can do about them. Don't ever allow anyone to get down on yourself. And if you do, recenter yourself. Try meditation, yoga. Maybe just go for a walk in nature. Whatever you need to do to reconnect with yourself, just know that you are awesome. Overall, there are a lot of tips that are going to help us as adults to be successful. These are just a few, but I promise you that they do need to know all of these. Now, overall, this is how to be a successful adult. And you know what? Success can actually be defined many ways. It's going to really depend on you as an individual, depend on your children and what they want to do with their life. There's financial success, there's physical success, there's mental success. Whatever it is that they want to pursue, great. Show them the path to learn how to do that. And that way they can live a long and happy life, and hopefully with fewer struggles than the generation before. That's really my goal at this point, is just to provide my daughter with a life a little bit better than mine was, which was pretty great to begin with. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Bye!